This is Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old college student with a story shrouded in bizarre and disturbing mystery. And this is the Cecil Hotel. Residing in Los Angeles' notoriously unsavory Skid Row, this hotel has a dark and bloody history, including multiple fatal suicide jumps, as well as housing Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, an infamous serial killer in the 1980s. Investigators and journalists alike who have stayed in the hotel to attempt to witness and document for themselves its supposed eerie vibe have described feeling a strange compulsion to throw themselves from the balcony. But this story focuses on a death much more strange. Days after checking into the Cecil Hotel, Elisa Lam was reported to be missing. Time crawled on, and throughout the following days, residents began to complain to hotel staff that the bath and tap water was tinged with an unsavory color. Days later, Elisa Lam was found dead and decomposing in one of the Cecil Hotel's rooftop water tanks. The same that supplied the residents with the water they drank and bathed in. The story is macabre enough as it is until we learn the strange circumstances of her death. How her body came to end up in a water tank was the beginning of the mystery. To access the roof, a locked and alarm-triggered access door would had to have been opened at the top of a maintenance stairwell, which only hotel staff had access to. Secondly, the water tanks would not have been scalable, and there was seemingly no possible way a person could have feasibly climbed atop one of these tanks. Presuming one did, these tanks were accessible only by a very small and tightly sealed trapdoor. These tanks were so inaccessible that firefighters had to bring ladders and cut a hole within the top of the tank to retrieve Elisa's body. So how on earth could she have found her way inside, whether it be foul play or intentional on her part? Stranger still was that the firefighters found her body naked and her clothing forcibly stuffed into the drain. Was this done intentionally by Elisa to cause the water levels to rise inside the tank so as to make an escape attempt? Or was this an incredibly grim and macabre way to commit suicide? Whichever it may have been, the outcome was the same. People began to ask questions and pressed the police for answers. Finally, after much time, the police released a short video of Elisa entering into the hotel's elevator only supposed minutes before her untimely demise. This video is extremely chilling to watch. We see Elisa in a frantic hurry, pressing multiple floor buttons, peeking out of the elevator and hiding against the wall. She seems to be in a panic and hiding from someone. Later, she steps out of the elevator and disappears, only to return and make some downright inhuman and disturbing motions with her hands and arms. Her actions have caused many to speculate her to be suffering from a mental disorder or under the influence of heavy narcotics. This video is disturbing on the surface but becomes much more horrific if we look closer and pay attention to a couple of fine details. First, if we look very closely here, we see the elevator door makes an attempt to close but opens back up. This means someone is most likely standing right outside of the elevator, pushing the call button, attempting to keep Elisa from escaping in the elevator. Second, you may notice her movements and the way her hair flows seems a bit off kilter. That is because the video seems to have been supposedly altered or tampered with. One individual has released this edited version of the video, slightly sped up and compared to the original timestamp. With this version, her movements seem more fluid and natural. So why was the timing of the video changed? The final detail makes this slightly more clear. Video analysts have determined that supposedly here, when Elisa steps off camera, then returns instantly, that there have been roughly 4 minutes of footage cut from the video and are missing. Is this true? Well, that's for you to decide. Finally, as if this case were not already scattered and confusing enough, only mere days after her body was discovered, a rampant and resistant outbreak of tuberculosis was detected amongst the homeless population of Skid Row, and the test kit was released to determine the resistant nature of this tuberculosis strand, and the kit was called Lam Elisa. This detail is way too strange and coincidental to be overlooked. You can even supposedly purchase a Lam Elisa tuberculosis test kit online. How do all of these details in the grisly death of Elisa Lam come together into a cohesive story? At this point in time, they don't. Thus, the mystery of her death remains unsolved.